which in and of itself is an act of rebellion, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's not really like fine religious figures, right?
Yeah, not in Islam.
Yeah.
I thought one of the reasons why she chose to draw was like to bring in like a greater like readers because I thought that the drawings were breaking like cultural barriers because like okay, if I read in a book like The Family's Iranian, to some extent I'm gonna disassociate just because I'm not Iranian and I don't understand like Iranian culture. Whereas with a graphic novel, like you see what's happening within the family, what her parents and her family members look like. So like with that in mind, like it kind of like reminds me like, okay, Margie and her family is just like me and their culture is similar to like my culture, etc. So it's like you associate with like with Margie to a greater extent and like the novel as a whole.
Really humanizes.
Yeah.
Alexis.
It's completely different, and I could be completely wrong, but what I thought was interesting was that she never really states what exactly she is. Am I wrong?
I don't remember a panel where she does.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we talked about it in the beginning when we were first having class discussions.
Oh, I wasn't there.
Okay.
Wait,
No, but it was like you're right.
You're right.
I was,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, you're right.
And because when she talks about, it was the prophet panel, right? Where there's like 8 of them all lined up, or not 8, but several lined up, and she wants to be one of them, but they're from different religions.
And it just talked about God, not like specific again.
And also to add on that she was a girl while the rest of them was a guy.
Should Bounty?
I like the way that the titles were, like the chapters were divided. So it wasn't like a stream of, like in a book you often like get a lot more deeper day-to-day type of thing. Like, and I get like we get like the day-to-day overview of like how her daily life was, but like the particular experiences she chooses really affected her, or like show like a model that she like developed through her experiences.
Mine actually kind of goes into this. It was talking about how I found it really interesting that the first chapter she chose was the veil because it was able to set the tone for like the whole graphic novel because it's just kind of showing her rebelling against coercive oppression. This was in the case of the government, but later she rebels against her parents. And it was just showing also that the main conflict was going to be like her liberal thoughts versus what was being forced upon her.
Anyone else? Yep, sorry.
I also find it very interesting how she uses like the sizes of the panel, but like very important events that happen to her life. She puts the panel bigger. For like example, when she was lost, she used the splash and like the dark, and she was like surrounded by dark, and we can really like relate to her, like seeing the image through the image. And also when she leaves and her parents cry. Like they're very upset and she turns around. But if you notice the panel is bigger, because probably she wants to emphasize the emotions she felt.
Yeah, absolutely. Good observation. Anybody else? Is anybody inspired to try to write a graphic novel?
I can't draw.
Can't do
So you need to find an artist, and then you can tell them what to draw.
So that's how she has like those little small hidden messages and everything. Like someone was mentioning, Adriana was mentioning, with like how you have to be really like attentive, like when we did the last discussion with what Rami, like with what Rami said, how when everyone was rebelling, not only did they all look the same, but they also had their eyes closed as a way of like showing, what do you call it, like unknowledge, ignorance to something, while the women who had war against it had all different characteristics, had their eyes open, were shouting, were really showing who they truly were instead of trying to go with the herd.
Absolutely. Yeah. Adriana, then Hawa?
Yeah, I was wanted to say that last year for English class we were assigned to do a graphic novel with that.
Okay.
And most of my friends did it online on like a website.
Yep.
I drew it by hand. I drew manga style,
Yeah.
Japanese
Yeah.
guys. Yeah, it took me forever. Because it was so long and I had to color it, so I hang it out like after everyone, but yeah, it was worth it. It was so fun.
I'd love to see it.
Really?
Yeah. I can't draw, so I really appreciate it.
Oh, no,
Oh.
I also wanted wanted to say kind of, Amanda, I think brought me to this point, but that the fact that it was a graphic novel, for me, the thing that I really, really liked was that I feel like when you draw, sometimes you do things and you don't realize you're doing them. So it was kind of a, like being able to see into her subconscious mind. Like all the little things that she didn't even realize would be like noticing them because she doesn't notice them, but they're there.
Okay, absolutely. And Megan?
One thing which I really liked was the use of humor constant throughout the novel. Like it's nice, like it's chapter 1 is death, chapter 2 she's like laughing about something. And it's like, number 1, it lightens the mood, it keeps you hooked, and like, you cannot like just regard the book as like about war and oppression and terror, because it's obviously there's humor in there as well. Makes the book more complex.
I still have that. Oh, sorry. I still have that. Like I always remember the image of the big panel that says it's funny how God looks so much like Marx. I really liked how that was such a big kind of turning point. But like we kind of all noticed it, where it was going from like her being a child to like religion and kind of not imaginary friends, but imagination and creativity, to more of a logical side, and then slowly leaving the religion and going to more logical, and that I like how the author wrote that.
And relating to what Dana said, okay, she's actually agree with her on that point because we've all been there.
It's Thursday afternoon.
Yeah, you guys are great, right?
Okay, I'm going to skip over that and go over to Amanda. So we also agree with that because it sort of also lets us see into what she actually sees as God and what she actually believes in. She might agree with what Mark says, and since she's seen his face, she would imagine him more as of God. So that's like sort of what she believes in it too, not only his inside religion, it's also what she believes in too.
In my last school in Nashville, we had a guy who was a substitute teacher for us, and he looked exactly like Karl Marx. Like, and they called him Santa Claus. I was like, no, guys, that's not Santa Claus. That's Karl Marx.
About the thing though, like, why would she specifically use Karl Marx? Because he's like a communist, personality.
He was dialectic materialism. Like, he was the founder of the communist movement, and Columbus was a communist, and they gave her books on his philosophy.
Did she agree with the communist view?
I think definitely parts of her did. I mean, she worshipped her uncle, and she was communist, and there was definitely communists in her family, and communism is sort of, in a lot of ways, opposed to religious improvement, and so is she. So, you know, there's a lot of reasons for her to like Marx. And a lot of people have. You know, things that have come from Marx have made a lot of people angry. Marxism itself has some really interesting points. If you get a chance, Communist Manifesto is a very interesting short little book. That's a read. Okay, good job, guys.